Hey guys, it's Rob the Jeweler here again. Today we're going to be sizing a ring down from a 9 to a 7.5. Now, when you're sizing a ring down, you need to be careful as far as how many sizes you go down. It's going to depend on the ring. Like this one here, the ring's got channel set stones. So going down from 9 to 7.5 isn't really going to hurt it. But some settings you want to be careful, because if you size down, when you pull inward, these stones will loosen or fall out, and you may have to replace them. So you want to be careful with that. And the same thing goes for when you're sizing up, because when you're sizing up, you're stretching the ring like this, and you can put too much pressure on the stones, cause them to crack or shatter. So you want to be careful with that. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this on our mandrel. And it's a 9 now, so we're going down a size and a half. And what we're going to do, we're going to leave this on the mandrel. We're going to stick it in our little mandrel hole here on the desk. Okay? And what we are going to do, as you can see, we're going to take these here. And this is a size gauge. This is a 9, which I'm not sure if you can see that. This is a 9, and we're going to 7.5. So what we're going to do, we're going down to size and a half. So on our gauge here, what we're going to do is we're going to find 1.5 size. So let's see. Come on. Okay, that's going to be our 1.5. Right? And what we're going to do, and you see this, 1.5 sizer. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here like this, and we're going to mark it. Okay? We're going to push down. We're going to push down hard. Let's see if I can. Sometimes it'll fall out the hole. But what you got to do is mark it like that. Okay, we got our mark. So now what we're going to do, now that we got it marked, some jewelers like to use a saw to cut the ring. Personally, I find that to be a long-winded waste of time. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a pair of clippers. And what you can do is just cut a piece out where you marked. So we're going to snip it here. And we're going to snip it on the other line. Okay. So you got your piece out, and we've cut that section out where we marked it, line to line. Okay. Then what you want to do is you want to get you a cutting disc to put on your mandrel. A cutting disc like this. It's a real fine, thin, and you want to flatten out the edges. Okay? You want to flatten these edges. You want to make them smooth and flat. Okay, once you've done that, you want to take yourself a pair of pliers that are built like this. And what this does is you put this on one side like that, and that will bend the ring downward. What you want to do is you want these to meet as flush as possible. So you grab this side, and here again, this is why I say you need to be careful about how you bend it and how many sides you're going down, because you bend this too much and these stones could fall out or loosen, and then you have to tighten them or replace them. So you got to be careful. So now we're going to bend this side down here, and we're going to get it to meet flush. You want it to be as close as possible. Now we're going to do my favorite part. We need to dip this in boric acid, just like we do the chains. It's a mixture of boric acid and denatured alcohol. So what we do is take that and just dump the whole ring in it. Swirl it around. Okay? And then set it on fire. Sorry, camera fell. It's not gonna hurt it when you set it on fire with the denatured alcohol. It's not gonna hurt it at all. So go ahead and light it up. Let that burn off. Okay. While that's doing that, we'll cut us a piece of solder. This ring is 10 karat, so we're going to use 10 karat yellow gold solder. And usually sheet solder, this is what most people use. So we're going to cut a piece off there. Okay. Then what we're going to do, we're going to grab some flux. Now I like to use Aquaflux, but it kind of, you know, everybody has their preference. I like Aquaflux. There's some other ones out there like Banter, a couple other ones, but this is the one that I prefer. And you put that on there. Now what the flux does is the flux helps the solder to stick and flow through. Without the solder could jump to the, without the flux, the solder could jump to the right, jump to the left. You want it to pull through. So that's what that's for. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our solder. We're going to heat it up into a ball and get it on the end of our pick. I think you can see it there barely. Okay. Then what you're going to do, and we're using a 5-tip. You want to use a 5-tip for most rings. On larger rings, you may even have to use a 6. But we're going to use a 5-tip with a mixture of propane and oxygen. Okay. And what you're going to do is heat it up, and the flux is going to bubble a little bit. Once it stops bubbling, go ahead and put your solder on there. And we actually need to crank the heat up a little bit. And my solder piece fell off, so we're going to cut another piece here. It happens. That's why you have a drawer down here at the bottom to catch the pieces of solder and catch any pieces of gold that might fall. So what we're going to do is we're going to heat this piece back up. Got our ball again. We're going to heat it up. And you may have to adjust the flame a couple times. Get it on there. Okay. And there it goes. It's flowed through. Now, there's different types of solder. There's hard solder, there's medium solder, and there's easy solder. I use easy solder. I mean, not easy solder. I use hard solder on just about everything. You have to be careful because if somebody has used easy or medium solder on a ring or jewelry piece before, easy solder flows at a lower temperature, medium a higher, hard a higher temperature. You got to be careful because if somebody has sized a ring before with easy or medium solder and you go use hard solder, as soon as you hit it with the torch, before your hard solder will flow, especially if it was sized up and a piece was added in, the piece will actually blow out of the ring. It will actually just fly out. So you got to be careful. My suggestion is on something like that, this one I knew had not been sized before. But if you suspect that it's been sized, heat it up first and you'll see a line show up. If you see a line show up, you know it's been sized at that particular point. So you want to try to size it somewhere else, and you may have to use medium or easy solder. You could try to use hard, but it's probably that piece probably gonna blow out. So you just want to be careful with that. Okay. Now this particular ring we can cool off because the stones we don't have to worry about shattering. Now you got to be careful because if you got a stone that can't take heat, say like a white sapphire or CZ, you got to be careful because if you take it while it's hot and you stick it in water to cool it off, the stone will shatter. It will just shatter like glass and you'll have to replace it. For this particular one, we don't have to worry about, so we'll stick it in the water to cool it off. Now that we've done that, you can see we have our piece. Well, it's welded, it's together, but it's not round. It's a little oblong. So what we're going to do, stick it on the mandrel, and we're going to slide it down a little bit. And we're not going to hit it with a regular hammer, we're going to hit it with a rubber mallet to round it out. And we're going to put it back in the same hole here. While it's on the mandrel, we're going to round it out. Okay. Okay. And as you can see now, at a 7.5. We was at a 9 and we're now at a 7.5. So now what we need to do is just check, make sure we have it round, which we do. You can see it's now round. It's no longer oblong like it was. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to file down the inside and the outside to kind of match a little bit. And we're going to use a small rock to file it down with. So we're going to use that on the inside to smooth it out. Now essentially what the goal here is you want to file it down. When you're done, you should not be able to tell where it's been cut, where it's been sized at. you should not be able to tell. So you want to file it down with the rock. Now you want to be careful, you don't want to be too aggressive filing this down because you don't want to thin the shank, okay? Now if the shank is thin, you might have to do a reshank, but that'll be a different video. Right now we're just doing sizing. But you want to be careful not to thin the shank out. You don't want to grind it down too much, but you want to smooth it out to where you can't see the line, can't see any excess gold, anything like that. Now what you want to do is you want to take a file like this and you want to smooth this out. You want to round it out like this, kind of a motion there. And it depends on the ring. Some rings you might not have to do this. Sometimes it comes out actually okay, but most times you want to try to file this down, get it even, smooth. Then you want to do the same thing here. You want to take this, have a slot in your desk for it with a groove here so that you can lay this ring flat like this and smooth out the side. And you want to do it until it's even. So we're going to put that in our desk and you want to smooth. You want to take this and you're going to smooth that shank so you can't see the line anymore, till it blends in. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Then we're going to smooth out the inside a little more here with the rock. Okay. Seven and a half. 7.5. Alright, so what we're going to do now that we've filed it down and made it as even as possible, we're going to use an inside ring smoother. This is for the inside, and then usually I use a black wheel for the outside, for the sides and the top, to smooth it out. And let's see, we're going to do the inside first. Okay, so we're going to smooth out the inside. And you're just going to kind of go back and forth. Yeah, that'll happen too. And you do have to be careful, because if you're not holding on to it good and you're doing this, it catches. That's what will happen. And don't say any jeweler says that don't happen to him, he's telling you a lie. Okay, inside smooth. Now what we're going to do, so we're going to switch over to our black wheel and smooth out the sides and the top side of the ring. Okay, now we're going to do the sides here. Okay, now we're going to do the other side. Okay, and then we're going to check the size one more time. 7.5, 7.5. And you can see our ring is sized down to size and a half. It's rounded out. We've smoothed it out. You can't really tell where it's been cut and sized. So next what we're going to do, we're going to go drop this into ultrasound and buff it on the buffer, and we'll be back to see the final product.